So here we are again. This time in the garden, watching the cat Che eating breakfast or lunch. I'm still testing the camera. Here. We see the this is the chestnut seedling I brought back from the Ticine. I took two and one didn't really survive the ride in the hot car, and the other one did. And now the one who survived is not looking well, but the one who dried up immediately has put out new leaves, so I'm going to encourage it by putting it in another pot. In back we've got another ginkgo. Let's zoom out. Real smooth. Turns out this camera, I can just plug it into the computer and put the video into the computer without going through all the fancy stuff they're trying to get me to do, like burn a DVD directly or something like this. And it's a very rudimentary camera. It doesn't have many settings. So, but maybe it'll serve my purposes. Now I'm going to test the auto exposure feature, panning past the tool shed. There we got it. So there we see the cherry tree with the wilted leaves. It just does not seem to be doing well. I wonder if this is because the ants have dug to the roots, have established themselves at the roots, or what. The goldenrods, you can see a little bit, they're just starting. I mean, it's really late. And this beautiful summer lilac with all the butterflies. It's really a joy to see how alive this bush is. Full of butterflies. Now I'm going to take... No, I'm not going to take the camera down. I'm going to do this and pan. To the front of the hut, near where the cat is, which is here. So, Chase had enough to eat. Now I'm going to get into the picture. I'm going to get into the picture and see what this looks like. Hey Che, come. We'll get into the picture together. See how good the mic is. The mic is on the top of the camera, which I don't think is a very good idea because it means it's not directed. I would have put it in the front. Or maybe that's the speaker. I may be wrong about this. It would be silly to put a microphone on the top. Anyway, it's like about 11:30 in the morning. Another beautiful day, spotless. And I'm feeling kind of strange. I mean, dragging my feet with writing the article on the iconography of the Rembrandt painting. I just don't feel like sitting at the computer maybe. And actually I would like to move my office table, which is in my bedroom at the moment, and put it where it used to be in the office, which I stopped using because the neighbors are so loud. But I think the little kid, the 3-year-old, now goes to kindergarten, so it may be that the mornings are going to be quiet. And as far as I've heard, the man is in a clinic trying to cure his alcoholism or something like this. So 2 months, it's been really quiet for 2 months. So I feel like maybe this is a good time to change into the office anyway. The other thing is, I feel so strange, like if my dreams are an indication of anything, whereas yesterday I was dreaming of rock slides and torrents of mud running through towns. Today I dreamt about an airplane exploding about 100 yards from the window in the high-rise that I was in, and this was actually in New York, Manhattan. And I'm in an apartment close to the top of the building, and I hear a really loud sound that sounds like a plane passing overhead, but really close. And I hear it, and it just keeps coming closer, and I never see it passing. And then I thought, oh, hopefully it is not going to crash into the building. So I look out the window and I see the underside of the airplane, like passing rather slowly and extremely close, like directly. I could have touched it maybe. And then it goes to about 100 yards away, and parallel to the building now, as if it had turned, it goes into flame. And then, so I know the next thing that's going to happen is a lot of delivery trucks. The next thing that's going to happen is it's going to explode. And so I expect the explosion, and so I hear like a muffled roar, and I feel it's getting really hot. But the window hasn't busted yet, and it's just getting hotter and hotter. And I hope that I'm well protected, but somebody motions to me from another room, and I go into it. The other dream was a young man jumping out of a window to be closer to a woman or something like this. Anyway, really not out of despair or anything like this, but more like a practical measure. And anyway, I'm still a little bit under the effects of this. And it's strange being on a late summer day outside, enjoying the sights. And the other thing is, I'm realizing, I talked about twinship yesterday, and so the parallels with the Rembrandt painting, that for one thing, for a long time I thought it was about twins because there was a man and a woman in it, and it had kind of like a yin-yang type of composition. So I thought, well, by stretching the imagination as far as it'll go, it could be me and my sister, my twin sister, in the womb, you know, because it's such a womb, it's such an enclosed, rounded space. So I thought, yeah, so there we are in this painting. And then it occurred to me just recently that this thing of there having been another painting with this of the same size, Rembrandt-esque, and with a small figure of an old man at a table near a window. In the back, behind, there's a spiral staircase and a vaulted interior, but quite differently. I mean, there are major differences in these two paintings, and they're only superficially similar anyway. That this was a twinship situation, and all the more because they were both called philosophers. And then what happened was that some people must have gotten onto this and thought there's such a difference between the two paintings. The quality, the execution, the tones of and the brushwork. Like in Rembrandt, you can see the brushwork, in the other one you don't see the brushwork. And especially the execution of the staircase and the execution of the idea of this whole thing, you know, like all of it fitting into this rounded space. Anyway, the people must have realized there's something going on here. We haven't got the same artist. The subject, that's another matter. Anyway, in 1955, after doing X-rays and infrared pictures, scientific examinations of the companion painting, they came to the obvious conclusion this is not by the same painter as the other one, and therefore not a Rembrandt, because the first one had pictorial qualities that one would expect of a good artist like Rembrandt, a great artist like Rembrandt. And so it got kicked out of the catalog. And since then, although it's kind of disappeared, it's still making trouble, because you keep art historians keep discovering new sources, like of inventories, and so you'll see an inventory mention with old man with the spiral staircase, and if the dimensions are given, if the size is given, it'll be the same size in both cases, so we never know which painting is being mentioned, because the old mentions, they don't say philosopher, they just say old man. And so we've got an insoluble problem here. The sources are never so specific that we'll know which of the two paintings is the real painting, and therefore the real Rembrandt. And I'm having to digest this. And then, okay, we've got my personal situation where I realize that I've basically lost my sister, my twin. She's been fading from my horizon for a while, and it's become all the more evident since he moved to Europe, which is now close to 2 years ago, to be united with Fabian, who's the love of her life, as she says. I mean, and she's got 25 years of correspondence to prove it. And so they got together last year in December 2011, and it became obvious after a few months that I wasn't seeing very much of Claudine, even though she was living in Basel, which is like an hour away with the train. And so I wasn't seeing any motivation to see each other and to work out our differences. And so this led to kind of a silence for about a year or so, until we met again at my initiative to go to an art exhibition in Basel. In the meantime, she and Fabian had moved to Lucerne, living in a 18 square meter holiday vacation apartment on the outskirts of Lucerne. And I just don't hear much from her, and there's no exchange anymore. And of course, it can be that she's completely fixated on Fabian, and all the more so now, as a month ago he had a problem with a detached retina when they went to the States. And they were a couple of days in the States, I think, and then this happened, so couldn't see anymore. He had to be taken to the emergency ward and operated on and get laser work. Anyway, it didn't really solve the problem, so he had to go back to Switzerland after about 5 days in the States. And I wouldn't have known about this if I hadn't sent an email about something. Suggesting we meet in Zurich when I went to the lecture in Zurich about a week ago. Just by the way, I found out about this problem. So for a whole month, I thought they were still in the States, and they were actually in Lucerne and having a hard time of it, of course. But you would think that they would send word. Anyway. So I'm realizing, in a sense, I've lost her, and that there's a big misunderstanding. It's analogous, let's say, in a superficial, artificial way, to this problem between Rembrandt, not Rembrandt, philosopher, not philosopher. One is a philosopher or theologian, and one is an artist. That's the divide. And Claudine is working on being a philosopher more than I think she's working on being an artist, because she's trying to put down into words her theory or ideas about reality. And so perfectly willing to leave that up to her. And at the same time, my artwork tractor looks more like a play with forms, materials and objects at the moment. But I would also like to make the juncture between the Rembrandt work and the artwork, and this would be in myself, let's say, making a lecture about the Rembrandt painting, its relation to my life, and so on, this sort of thing. So that would speak for doing performances in an English, I could do it in Germany, in Switzerland, or England, in the States if I want to go that far. And that would be a good result, and would explain this need to talk, to get into a mode of thinking, of sorting out and putting some order into my ideas, and voicing them in English, of course, because my English body, my English speech body is getting is undernourished. Its being is too neglected, too ignored. And although I usually write in English, I write my dreams in English, and I write my journal in English. And anyway, that's the lowdown for now, and disguised as a test. I'm looking at the blue sky, I'm looking at the butterflies in the lilies. Let's have a look at that. This is the sky and the lilies. Lilies, what am I talking about? Sommerflieder, lilac. They call it Sommerflieder, which is the summer lilac. And it smells just like the usual lilac. Let's see if I can zoom in on... here's should be a butterfly. Look at that. Great. There's another butterfly. Where did he go? Oh, I lost track. Is that one? No. That looks like a butterfly. No, that looks like a bee. To be. Let's see if I can find my way. It's very difficult with such a strong zoom. How do I aim? Okay, I see. There we go. So I'm gonna track this butterfly. Where did he go? No one just zipped by. How do I orient myself? Aha, okay, now I know where I am. That's all the way at the top of the plant. If I turn here, I can maybe get this guy. And a little bit more. Yes. There you can see a butterfly. I wonder how much... I don't have my magnifying glass. So this camera takes about an hour, I think, in this particular setting, which is the highest quality. And that will definitely permit me to talk at greater length. And it may be that these studio talks are just like a rehearsal for something, and I may be making the same talk over and over again, or let's say bringing up the same topics over and over again, the same themes, subjects, whatever, ideas, and until I get it kind of down. I guess this is the thing. And you know, you've noticed that my ideas have been involve order, pattern, form. I think he just left. I'm going to zoom out. Let's look at this here. Yes, maybe zoom out a little more. Here's where the shadow is. I don't know where Che went. He must be licking his chops somewhere. Anyway, yes, my thoughts have been revolving around form and order, and because I am actually in a situation of great disorder. For example, I've had very little work this year, much less than in the past 5 years, let's say, and correspondingly less income. I've been overdrawn chronically at the bank, and having to borrow money from Brigitte, who fortunately has enough to lend me, but I'm getting close to the limit that I can borrow and be able to repay with the pension that I've been paying into for the last 10 plus years, 14, 15 years in all. When this matures, I'm going to have to give it to Brigitte, which is okay because she's permitting me to live now. And I don't really know what to do about this. I mean, I don't have a website, for example, so people come to me because they know me and by word of mouth, which is really the best way to get business. But it's not enough, and also I'm realizing that I'm not getting not anywhere, but I'm just not progressing in my work on the Rembrandt painting with my own artwork, where, like I say, and I would like to operate this junction, this fusion, kind of close the circle, instead of keeping it always open, or just having to maintain the tension between the opposite ends, whatever. This is, yes, close the form. And this would mean living from my own work. And it may be not very useful to call it art, because, as I said, it may be that